And today we're talking politics 101 with my good friend and colleague who's now a retired professor from Southern University at New Orleans in political science, Dr. Dr. George Amity Sr. Greetings and welcome, my friend.
Greetings, greetings. Good to be here.
And congratulations to you again on
Thank you.
retirement and all those other good things. Yeah, you haven't had a chance to enjoy it yet, have you?
No, it's just so recent, but I'm trying to work it in where I can act retired.
That's where you can act retired. Well, exactly. But for me, it's bourbon and cigars.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't know.
Right.
But in any event, we want to talk today about a number of things. I want to talk about tariffs, redistricting, and some of the local elections, and also in terms of the shenanigans that's taking place with redistricting, and what's taking place with the Democratic Party as well as as well as the Republican Party. And first, let us do this. Let's talk about what's the first element for us to discuss is the nature of these tariffs. The tariffs, they're up and down the line in the sand, the agreements. I would like just to get your perception and perspective. Yes, sir.
Very interesting. It's kind of difficult. The idea of being self-sufficient and manufacturing one's own products and services is a good idea in principle, both in terms of jobs and in terms of the economy. However, you cannot move from a interconnected global economy to a autarky or a protectionist kind of economy. I mean, it just doesn't work because the existing economy of the United States and the existing jobs, manufacturing, businesses, and the like are tied into and are interconnected with global partners. You know, when we use tariffs,
yes, sir,
as a way of developing a protectionist kind of economy, it's not something that's going to work right away. It's something that can only work over time if it's going to work. And we see the end results of that based on the employment numbers that came out, based on the number of people who have been adversely affected about the Trump tariffs, and also the uncertainty with respect to investments and the like. So it has overall, to this point, been a disaster.
A disaster on all fronts. It's created a level of instability that I think which is almost pretty much unacceptable. The one thing about capitalism is that it requires stable markets. And when you begin to look at tariffs and the application of it, it begins to be, especially when it's out there in a wholesale manner, it's almost an act of war. That some can perceive it to be an act of war. So the next stage to that can lead to war because they're not viewed as something which is friendly to a nation state. Yes, sir.
Well, even in terms of basic economics, and I'm not just talking about free trade, but I'm talking about basic economics. You have what we call comparative advantage and specialization. Countries that are best suited to produce certain things ought to produce them. Countries that are advantageous about producing other things should produce it. We cannot have a strictly self-sufficient economy because it is not we do not have an economic advantage or comparative advantage in producing everything. Also, by the same token, the idea of stifling innovation comes into play. You cannot have not only a domestic economy, but you cannot have an all-white population or an all-nativist population with respect to economy.
Yes, sir. We have a call on line one. Yes.
Hello, hello. This is Shedrick Roy.
Oh, Cedric, yes, yes, indeed. Good soon, old man. Past
Oh,
president,
yes.
always
I
great
want to
things.
say to both of my political science instructors, thank you. Thank you for teaching us basic stuff, civics, vote, the importance of voting. Thank you for all the hard papers that y'all gave. And both of y'all were hard, but y'all were loving. Dr. Amity, man, congratulations on your retirement.
Thank you. Thank you.
Uh,
Thank you.
Thank you to both of you all. And I wish some of these people running for office would reach out to you all and you all can talk to them about policies, about people. Lastly, I wonder if people are concerned about who these people are that are running for mayor and their spouses. Are their spouses Trump supporters? And if so, the voters of New Orleans need to know this because we shouldn't have any mayoral candidates or possible mayor whose spouses are part of MAGA. And I'll hang up and listen.
And so, and appreciate all of the kudos. And yes, yes, Professor Amity, yes.
Well, that's interesting. I'm not aware of the political affiliation of the mayoral candidate spouses. Uh, the old idea of sleeping with the enemy. So, but we do know that they are spouting what they believe the people want to hear. So I'm more concerned about what positions that they're taking on particular issues rather than who they're sleeping with. But it does seem to point to the fact, you have James Carville and his wife, Madeline, who were opposites of political parties, and he was dedicated to the Democratic Party, and she was loyal to the Republican Party. So you can't have someone in that position who's true to their party, and but their private sleeping it might be a little different. So, but I'm not aware of anyone. But that's a good observation. We need to do that research and find out because I'm not very comfortable. That's like if you're going to be running for mayor and your spouse is a racist. That would be of concern to me.
And supported racist policies.
That's right.
Yeah. Let me ask you this before we get into local elections and talk about that. This whole redistricting process, which is taking place, that now with the movement by the current president, President Trump, asking Republican governors to redistrict right in the middle within a 5-year span before the 10-year span for the census is being taken takes place. And I'd like to get your concept of what's happening in Texas. Do you see a domino effect, and what should be the response from the Democratic Party or the Independents or anyone with respect to this redistricting structure that's being pushed by the current president and the governor of Texas?
Well, it's scary.
Yes, it is.
It's scary to the extent that it's an effort to circumvent, and it really does not support a democratic process. And, we know, and I go back to my two themes that I've always used on this show. One is fascism.
Yes, sir.
The other is not just fascism, but also the fact that there's no respect for the rule of law, which is kind of the same sort of thing. But with respect to the redistricting, elections have consequences. I've always said that. And this battle was lost before now. It was lost with the last elections that elected Trump, but not only elected Trump, it elected both houses of Congress that are Republican, and it also put him in a position to select Supreme Court justices that also, so they have the trifecta. And so what's really going on here is every precedent by the court before that addressed the issue of partisan and racial gerrymandering has been dishonored by this court. The first gerrymander case that we talk about is Baker versus Carr.
Baker versus Carr.
And in
early
Baker
60s,
versus
yes.
Carr, in spite of the fact that the urban populations of Tennessee were beginning to grow, they redistrict those congressional seats to favor the rural areas of Tennessee, and the court ruled that that was illegal. And we also had the Voting Rights Act, and we've had court cases that have outlawed parts of the Voting Rights Act. So we're in a position now where some people have predicted there may be a civil war. I don't know if that's
Well,
the case.
we're engaged in a civil war right now. If we are in a war, and we have to be very, very recognize it. Yes, Pop Jones, greetings and welcome. Yes, sir.
Oh, thank you very much for taking my call. I have a lot of questions I'd like to ask, but I'd like to speak to Mr. Amity. I'm very familiar with the great lawyer. I don't think he's with us anymore. I'm very familiar with him. And there's two other Amadis that worked in the post office. Is he related to either one of them?
If they're black, I'm related to them.
Yeah, they're black. They definitely was black.
Yeah, well, definitely. Clarence Amity, Carl Amity worked in the post office. And of course, my father referred to the late attorney Earl J. Amity. So that's.
Oh, okay. So y'all all related.
We're
Yeah,
all related.
okay.
They're all
Well,
related.
they say all of us related anyway. Okay. I'm listening to what y'all saying about these mates. Man, that's a heavy. I have a lot of questions because a lot of times, if you got a mate, no matter what color they are, if you disagree with them about something, they believe that you might be against them. What about that, Dr. Clark, Dr. Amity?
Well, I mean, I think that's they may be against you if that's the case. But this idea of who your mate is, that's I guess Shedrick came from a place that I'm not familiar with, but I'll have to do my research on that.
It's the same here.
Do that. Well, is that a natural thing for most women to want a man to be a honeydew man?
Well,
I don't want to get y'all in no trouble now.
All men are not the same. So, I've been married 53 years. I have a 99% rule. Now, that means that I give my wife what she wants 99% of the time.
Okay.
So I
guess most men fit into that category.
But I reserve 1%, and so this is the catch.
1%, yeah, that's a beautiful
decide
thing.
when I exercise my 1%.
Yeah, you can.
You follow me?
Because if you try to take it to another level, you're gonna be in some trouble.
Yeah, yeah. But I don't argue over petty stuff. That's about
no. It does. Yeah. It's not. You learn. That's what I'm saying. You learn very early. It don't make no sense because you're not gonna win.
That's right. But that's right. Yeah.
Yes, sir. And
so I'm enjoying the show. I never had a chance to call in, and I didn't, to talk to you all, but I enjoy y'all. Really give some great. There's so much going on, Dr. Amity and Dr. Clark. That I could talk to you all day long, but I appreciate you taking my call.
But thank you. We appreciate you 100%. And
all righty.
Yes, sir.
I'll keep listening.
Well, and I like that 1%.
You like that?
Oh, yeah, that's truly outstanding.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm gonna listen to y'all and stay out of trouble.
Thank you. It's Pop Jones. Yes. Well,
As much as I can.
thank
Trouble
you.
don't last always though.
That's right.
Yes. Okay, and thank you. That's
All right,
outstanding.
thank you very much.
Okay. Now you know what I think also is it becomes important too when we look at the since we are talking about the local elections. Let's look at some of the campaigns and in particular the mayoral campaign because right now we see that there's been a big thrust in terms. What do you see the momentum? What do you see the momentum going right now
Well, uh, you know, the momentum
in the mayoral
on
case? Yes.
I've read that a group of former leaders
Yeah.
came out for Royce Duplessis, including former State Supreme Court Justice Burnett Johnson. I saw Don Hubbard,
I saw
Sidney
that. Yes, I done
Bartholomew.
exactly.
So that was a very impressive move.
So that's soul and cool.
A
Yeah.
very impressive move, and some others were also in there. So, but of course, we've seen that the polls themselves have seemed to say they favor Helena Moreno. And my comment last time is, I want to know who did the poll. And of course, in this particular case, it was Sidney Torres who paid for the poll. And of course, he's a supporter of Moreno. And also, but the poll was done by Ron Fortier, who I give some credibility to as a very somewhat objective pollster. However, I remind you of the history that in Dutch Muriel's second term, that the papers wrote predicted Ron Fortier would win that election based on polls.
Right.
But we know there was never a mayor named Ron Fortier. So we're still early. The most important aspect of the campaign is the day of the election. Can you get your vote out? Can you protect your vote? And then the week before the election, what's going to come out? Because we haven't seen a very scrutiny of the records, who's been favoring what geographical areas in New Orleans, and what geographical areas in New Orleans have been neglected. And those reports need to come out on every candidate. Because I'm out in the East.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not, you know what I'm saying? So I want to know. Inquiring minds out of the East want to know what the candidates are going to do for New Orleans East that have been neglected with respect to FEMA money and a lot of other things.
And I would imagine also that when it comes to the at-large seats,
Absolutely.
that's really that's just as important as the mayor's position.
Absolutely.
And because the candidates there, I know with Matthew Willard, and with Representative Delisha Boyd, yes, those two.
And then we have Reverend Manning, who's running against J.P. Morrell. So, I mean, races have to be won. I think this idea of giving polls and showing is designed to say, you might as well go with my candidate because they're already in. But let's put it like this. This is my prediction. There will be a runoff. And I don't care if you have 49.9% of the vote going into the runoff. There's still 50.1% or 0.1 that you have to get. So it's a different race when the runoff occurs.
That's when the election truly begins.
Absolutely.
And at that point, not only that's when the deals are made.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's when the pie is divided.
Yeah.
And that's when you test the political skills of the candidates to see what they have.
Toughness. Yeah.
And I just wanted to get your ideas and see what you're thinking about the local race. But I want to go back again to one other area with respect to this president because it affects all of us locally. The closing of the National Public Radio, NPR, closing of down of USAID, and then you look at now the Department of Education and FEMA to close down education, but then to look at FEMA, knowing that we are in the middle of hurricane season. As a professional, how do you see this?
Well, the thing
Yes.
that's disturbing to me, once again, you would rely on the courts to say that these funds that had already been appropriated had to go back to Congress in order to get rid of it. But they've weighed in on the side of partisan politics. I've never seen a court that is so partisan with respect to every issue that seems to arise. But in terms of the public broadcasting or NPR and the public broadcasting stations, the accusation is that they are more liberal and that they are more ideological. But that does not reflect the totality of all the programs on public broadcasting. Some of them, Sesame Street, these are kids grew up
Yes.
with this. These were proven to be programs. So to throw the baby out with the bathwater,
And in the rural communities as well.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, and to throw the baby out with the bathwater bothers me. Now, with respect to USAID, we see the attack is against particularly the neglect of countries on the African continent. That disturbs me. On the other hand, President Kagame indicated that it was a good thing because now African countries need to develop some sense of independence. Now, I can agree with that to a certain extent, but I think that independence can only be developed when African Americans and people of African descent all over the world partner with these countries and circumvent the president's attitude, like, for example, agriculture. It's a very important co-ops and the like. Those are ripe areas and other enterprises for joint ventures between people of African descent, people of color, and that will offset USAID. And you still have IMF, the International Monetary Fund. You still have programs that are part of the UN that are still in place. So it definitely has a downside, but we have to look at it as an opportunity. And there are a number of people who are about doing that. The Emoji Institute and Reverend Sule, Bishop Sule, and others here in Louisiana who are about trying to push Carl Gammon, who are trying to push these connectivities between people of African descent and agriculture and other enterprises and manufacturing. We're at a time where we have some very progressive and radical leaders on the African continent.
And also to say this, that there's also an opportunity for China to come in and fill the void.
That's right.
Which is what you see, and even India to go in and fill the void because they're on the continent. They're filling the void where America is. But what many Americans forget and do not realize that America's intervention in Africa is not predicated solely on humanitarianism.
No.
It is also a weapon of foreign policy.
Well, it used to be a tool in the toolbox for diplomacy.
Precisely.
So what are we saying? That diplomacy is no longer needed? That we're going straight to war? So, that's you either negotiate or you fight. And so some of the things we've done, like for example, India is buying its oil from Russia, and the president is now saying we're going to put a tariff on India. What about if I'm a person in the United States who's making my money through India? You've kind of ruined that. So I don't understand this.
It's all over the place. And to be honest, what you're looking at is the deconstruction of America on every phase, every front. And so once a Democrat gets elected, it's going to be a lot of work. And when the Democrats come into power, they have to have an agenda, a real agenda.
That's right.
To redevelop America, and also an agenda that's going to be progressive enough, and I say that's going to be proactive more than progressive, proactive enough to protect Americans and protect the average citizens from an economic standpoint. Now, anything in the remaining 2 minutes or so that we do.
Well, we
Yes,
didn't
sir.
talk about the local election as it
Yeah,
relates
enough.
to
Let's talk some more.
to the
Yes, sir.
sheriff
Oh yes,
race.
100%.
Which is big. And of course, we have at this point, just in terms of the fundraising, we see that former interim police chief Michelle Woodfork her fundraising far exceeds the other candidates. So she's looking like she's in the driver's seat. You compound that with the fact that we still had another inmate to be released from parish prison. And I just,
By mistake.
by mistake,
Similar names.
similar name. I mean,
Not the same, but similar.
It reminds me of my wife is named Joyce Amity. My sister-in-law is named Joyce Amity, and they would get their checks confused at the Orleans Parish School Board. You know what I'm saying? I said, well, do people look at Social Security numbers? Do they look at descriptions? Do they? So I mean, that seemed to me to be one that should not have happened. The first one, we know there was an inside job, but the second one that's like incompetence. And so I feel bad for Sheriff Hudson, but I think that's the nail in the coffin.
But that's your team. You're only as good as the team that you put together.
Right.
And there's a reason why you have a team. There's a reason why you have people that work in a well-organized way. And tell us about what we expect in the future. Yes, sir.
Well, we have competitive races and some competitive races in the council race. We have there's several candidates. Of course, we have District E, in which we have Cindy Wynn and Jason Hughes and some other candidates, Willie Morgan, one of my former students. And we also have District D, where Eugene Green is being challenged, and also District C. So the council races are very interesting, and we look forward to seeing those as well.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see we have a few weeks to go, and when they break down and see how it plays out. It's going to be good to see. It's going to be interesting to see, but more importantly, I think it's an opportunity for good new young leadership.
It's an interesting time because you have a lot of new faces that are running. So
and that's what we have. And again, I want to thank you for joining me, and I'd like to thank my listening audience and viewing audience for tuning in. And as always, it's been a pleasure. You can follow me on all platforms of social media. That's Dr. Clark's Living Classroom. And as always, again, it's been a pleasure. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. The man behind last week's Midtown Manhattan office shooting blamed